Hi, my name is Dan Kidder. I'm the chairman of the Southern Utah Citizens for Ethical Government Political Action Committee. We're the ones that have been putting out the videos on what we discovered about the mayor and her shady dealings with her property tax. In the Wednesday Iron County Today, she took out a full-page ad defending herself against the allegations that we've made and decided to call me a liar. I've written a detailed breakdown with all of the supporting documents, and that is available on our website if you're interested in getting into all of the details and the supporting evidence. The reason for this video is I wanted to let you know how this whole journey started and why I'm doing all of this. Maybe by hearing this, you can better decide who you want to believe. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and how I got into all of this. I've lived in Cedar City for the last 15 years. Prior to that, I lived in Washington, D.C., where I worked as a congressional press secretary for a member of the House Ways and Means Committee and the House Intelligence Committee. And I was also a staffer on the George W. Bush re-election campaign. I've run a bunch of campaigns for everything from school board to governor candidates. Before all of that, I was a reporter for Dow Jones News Service in New York. I'm an ordained minister who attended seminary at Liberty Theological Seminary in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I'm a firearms instructor who's worked with a wide variety of federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. I'm a cat lover who also loves dogs. I currently own a small corporate communications business in Cedar City. That's who I am. Now let me tell you how I got involved with all of this mess. One thing about me is that I have always loved America and democracy. Since I was 10 years old, writing to my pen pal Ronald Reagan. My mom still has those letters back and forth between the president and me. When I moved to Cedar City, I stayed away from local politics for the most part because I was unfamiliar with the players and the issues and a bit of an outsider. But after living here for a decade and a half, I began to see things going on that really upset me. I mostly ignored it and kept to my own affairs, but it continued, and I just couldn't sit on the sidelines anymore. I was one of the organizers of the Recreation Center referendum that successfully put a stop to construction of a pork project that would have burdened your children and grandchildren with debt. I stood up to corruption and waste with the City Council on many issues. I organized one of the first Back the Blue protests in America right here in Cedar City. But this most recent issue really got my blood boiling. It started with affordable housing. Councilman Tyler Melling worked his butt off to create a proposal that would allow free market forces the latitude to provide more affordable housing options so that more of our children who are growing up and moving out on their own can purchase a home and stay in this community. It simply changes some zoning ordinances and gets the government out of the way. During his presentation of this before the City Council, the mayor's father, Rich Wilson, made some very derogatory and accusational remarks at Councilman Melling and accused him of having a financial interest in this beyond helping others. There was zero basis for these remarks and zero evidence to support them. Mr. Wilson said that making home ownership more affordable would bring hookers and drugs to Cedar City, that we would be overrun with trailer parks. All of this happened in front of the mayor, who runs the meeting and usually insists on civility from other speakers. She remained silent during this barrage. It occurred to me right then that Mr. Wilson, who is the largest landlord in the county, had a vested interest in keeping people from affording home ownership. It also occurred to me that he is an elitist who despises poor people, and the silence of his daughter told me that she shares his worldview. So I did a video on it and I shared it, and that video got about 500 views. It's important to know that even though I'm trained as a journalist and I've worked as one for many years, this video and the subsequent videos that were presented not as journalism but as commentary. I believe a good journalist should never let you know their opinion. These videos were provided as opinion, and I share my opinions freely. That being said, though, they were backed up with facts. A few weeks later, I was watching a candidate forum where the topic of affordable housing was being discussed. When it came to the mayor, she stood up and said that she understands affordable housing as she cannot afford the picket fence dream house that so many others desire and instead lives with her husband in a small townhouse. I knew there was more to that story. My journalism training told me there was something amiss with this account. Why can't an attorney who's married to a very successful surgeon afford to live in a house? I decided to do some digging. I learned that the mayor and her husband own more than $2 million in property. I learned about the home in Washington County. I did another video calling her out for pandering. That video received over 4,000 views. After that video, I received a lot of contacts through Facebook, phone, email, and in person telling me all of the things that I had missed. People told me about the tax issue and how she had been claiming both homes as her primary residences, avoiding thousands in taxes. They told me about the mortgage and about how a reporter had confronted her about this months prior and she did nothing to change it. All of this information is documented on the website, and there'll be a link to that in the comments below. The one thing that every single person said to me was, please do not use my name. I'm afraid of retaliation from the mayor and her father. They were terrified. So I did the third video because I thought it was important for people to know about these things, especially in an election year. That video got about 2,000 views, and then I took it down and made a longer edit for some folks in the media who had requested it, and that video got about 1,500 views. After that final video, I began to see the fear of retaliation that people spoke of. Some prominent people in this community did a criminal background check on me. Now, as someone with a lot of clearances and licenses over the years, they weren't able to find anything to try to blackmail me to shut me up. And that made me realize that I'm the perfect person to stand up to these corrupt people. They can't extort me or blackmail me, and they can't shut me up. All they can do is the classic political trick that I've seen thousands of times. When you're exposed as a crook, deflect the attention by challenging the credibility of your accuser. That is what the mayor's ad does. As the buzz regarding the allegations began to quiet, I wanted to make sure that the information stayed top of mind for voters as Election Day approached. We really don't have any good cohesive news media options here, so we use social media in whatever way we can to spread the word. I figured radio advertising would be the best way to get people to look at the evidence on our website, ican'taffordapickettfence.com. In order to purchase political radio ads during an election, you have to be a candidate or you have to be a political action committee to comply with Federal Communications Commission regulations. So I figured I'd start a PAC so that I could buy ads on the radio. You can't start a PAC of just one person. I spoke to 25 people over a 2-week period and was told repeatedly that they would love to be on the PAC, but they were afraid of retaliation from the mayor and her father. I finally found Jeremy Snow, who's a Harvard Law grad and a former prosecutor who wasn't afraid to stand up to the mayor. The two of us filed our form with the lieutenant governor and we formed a PAC. In the mayor's ad, she accuses us of working for her opponent. She lumps anyone who exposes her lies together and tries to play like she is the victim of bullies. The 3 videos that I released before the PAC existed were completely created by me. I didn't even use the videographers who work for me. I have a production studio, and that's a service that I provide for clients. I've met Garth Green twice briefly at campaign events. I don't work for him. Any expenses for the website, domain name, radio ads have come out of my own pocket. I've spent less than $600. Garth has even condemned this information campaign. I get it, he wants to talk about issues, and he should. I'm still going to vote for him. Many people have shared information with me since my second video. They've made many accusations. I've been asked to share that stuff, but truthfully, this issue of the dual property tax residency is the only one that I can prove beyond a reasonable doubt through documentation and records that are available to the public. So I've left the accusations and the innuendo to the rumor mill and focused on this instance of crooked behavior that can be documented. My partner in the PAC, as I mentioned, is a Harvard-educated attorney and a former prosecutor, and he's gone over all of the evidence. He and I agree, if the mayor alleges that we have lied, then she should sue us for defamation. But that would require her statements to be entered into the record under oath, and I doubt that she would like to see that happen. At the end of the day, I have more to lose from this information campaign than I have to gain. I urge you to visit our website, ican'taffordapickettfence.com, and look at the evidence yourself. And then ask yourself if you trust what the mayor is telling you and if you think she should be trusted with another term. Thank you for your time.